Good morning, lovely humans, and happy Easter to those who celebrate. Today was supposed to be a bit of a wash, and I think it's still going to be after around noon, but I am taking full advantage of the beautiful weather in my backyard with Miss Puddles in this lovely fine morning. Welcome back to Chronically Joyful, and thank you so much to every single human that responded to my Instagram survey, just kind of asking what would bring you most value in hearing on this channel. And I got an incredible amount of responses to that question. So, and also thank you to everyone who just asked how I was doing. I love this community so deeply on a level that I have a hard time putting into words, but do very much appreciate all of the feedback and responses that I got on that question, just because it helps me understand what actually brings value to all of you. Cheers. And also shout out to my friend Clarice, whose channel I will put in the description also, just because she is like a loose cannon guiding light for me in this process as somebody who's never done YouTube before or recorded myself to this extent. And she told me that I had a free program on this Mac to splice my videos together, so I might be able to cancel my Canva subscription. So bless you, Clarice. We'll see if I'm able to successfully do that. I'm using this video as a test again, as per usual. That's what all of these literally are. And this time, what I would like to talk about today is grieving the version of yourself that you were prior to diagnosis, and then using that grief to get where you are today. And with that, I would love to throw like a short slideshow at the end of this of the version of me during that diagnosis period, because she was wild. She was insanely insecure. She was at rock bottom at that point, but looked very interesting with colorful hair and a million piercings. And actually, I was auditing my Instagram this morning, just being like, I have a lot of things on here, a lot of selfies that like I don't care about anymore, especially as this purpose kind of grows. And as I was auditing my Instagram, I stumbled upon a lot of old photos from that time. So I might test in this video and grace all of you with a slideshow at the end of this. And definitely Puddles Cam. Also, thank you to all of you who's been asking how she's doing. She is thriving and definitely surviving. Not necessarily eating as much as she used to, but we are having consistent poopies. So thanks everyone who sent well wishes for her post-spay surgery recovery. She is killing it, and we are past the cone of shame. So she is so happy. Also, it's my border collie's 9th birthday today, so happy birthday to Mr. Splash. If I actually make this slideshow at the end, he's totally going in it, and I'm going to try to make him treats or like a fun little dog cake, as I've done every single year prior. All right, let's actually get into the meat of this video. When you are handed a life-altering diagnosis at a very young age, or even in your older years, it doesn't matter actually when you are handed a heavy diagnosis, it will change you. It will change everything about your entire life. Whether you accept that or not, it's still going to happen. So, having been diagnosed myself at 20 years old, I was young. I was very young. And it certainly changed me. Not immediately, though. The version of myself that sits before you today is not the version of me that was diagnosed. And over the last about 11 and a half years, it will be 12 years, August 25th of this year. So somebody do that math for me, because I have had one sip of coffee. I'm not there yet this morning. But in that period of time, growth, grief, and everything in between isn't linear. You're not going to just wake up one day and be like, I'm over it. I'm completely healed. I'm totally fine today. And you might be fine that day. but something's going to happen later down the road that you're not going to feel fine. It isn't linear. So I'm just going to round up, over the last 12 years, I can only say that I have fully accepted everything that's come with this diagnosis, maybe within the last year. Willingly. I'll add, asterisk, willingly. Just because I do take pride in 20-year-old me, only for the fact that as I was sitting in multiple neurologist offices and receiving bad news bears after bad news after more bad news, I took it really well. Maybe to a fault. I realize in hindsight where it's just I'm really good at masking my true emotions. So I will say the only time that I cried during the diagnosis period was because I respond to everything with humor. Sitting in Dr. Wahid's office in Fletcher Allen, Vermont, after my spinal MRI and the 100% confirmation that yes, I have multiple sclerosis. And sitting in his office with my parents and my boyfriend at the time, who actually made this shirt, which is not intentional, but it's really funny. But sitting in that office and getting this diagnosis and laughing and being like, well, it could be worse. At least it's not type 1 diabetes. I couldn't have handled having to inject myself and having that lovely neurologist look me in the eye and say, well, actually, I would recommend you start your medication journey with Copaxone, which was an injectable medication 3 times a week. That was the only time that I really cried in that diagnosis period, where I was just like, oh, that's a bummer. But did discover that auto injectors do exist, and I loved my auto injector. Basically all that is, I might have explained this before, is just a big pen that you load your syringe into, and then you push a button and it just pow. It just does the hard part for you. I was trained on how to pinch my fatty tissue and stab myself if ever came the time that the auto injector didn't work, but they sent me 2, so I never had to worry about that. And I'm still grateful for it to this day, because the thought of having to pinch my thigh and have to slowly, oh God, it still gives me the heebies, which at this stage of my life, giving me the heebies, very hard. Side story. It was Saturday morning, so yesterday. It was a beautiful day like this, albeit a little bit less windy. I take Puddles into the backyard to go potty, and I am cheering because she squats to go number 2. And I'm like, oh my God, yes. She's finally going. And she rolls over on the lawn. And I see something caught in the furls of her fur. And I'm like, what is that? It's a very strange color. I get down there. I have no idea what it is. I'm bare hands. And I grab it. And I pull it out of the furl of her fur, and it was a huge turd that I went bare skin. I just pulled it out of her fur, and I just started screaming, and I was like, this is disgusting. Clearly, I'm still not over it down there. Yeah. So I did groom her a little bit and cut her matted fur, and officially, there is nothing on this planet that I can't handle. Human vomit is still my least favorite, but that was my Saturday morning cat story. But even though you are handed a very hard diagnosis, it doesn't mean that you fully accept it in that time. And it doesn't mean that you fully accept it a year from then, or even 12 years from then, where it's been a minute that I've been living with this illness, and it's only in year 11 that I finally was like, all right, this potentially isn't going anywhere unless I can energetically fix it, the way that I say in every video, because the more I say it, the more real it becomes. But I say that also with a logical mindset, where it's just well, what can I do to make things easier or alleviate symptoms while I magically sprinkle fairy dust and fix my life. But give yourself grace. It gets easier. It really does. And I say that across the board for everything. The pendulum swings. It always gets easier, no matter what you're experiencing right now. I call them seasons. I hear a lot of people phrase it that way, where it's just you're going through a really hard, tumultuous season. But the seasons change. So just, I don't want to say grin and bear it and work your way through it. I say this in every video, I think. Feel it. Feel exactly how you feel in this moment, as either you are receiving this news fresh today, or you are mulling over in your head, just like, how did I get here? Why did this happen to me? Just feel all of those things and respond to those feelings with such a deep, compassionate love for yourself over the fact that you woke up this morning. You have another opportunity on this planet. You are a badass. I've never met more badass people in my life than long distance runners and folks living with a chronic illness, which I guess I'll use this opportunity. I'm going to butcher your name if you ever see this. I'm so sorry. Shannon, I'm going to say Shannon Farar. It's much longer than that, but she actually, I'm going to say, to me, in this community, is a little bit famous because she runs the Badwater every single year in the desert as a lady who's got multiple sclerosis. And she goes fully prepared, like cooling vests, like she's awesome. That woman was one of the first people I actually learned of the existence of when I was first diagnosed, because my dad was I'm going to say an ultra marathon runner, and like my sister is a huge runner, so a big running culture in my family that did not pass on to me. I run the most now than I ever did before, and I'm slow, and had the lovely pleasure yesterday evening of meeting a gentleman in the run club around here, and he was like the third person to be like, you should join the run club, and I'm like, I don't want to join the run club. It's just, that gene was not passed on to me. She says after accidentally running 5.5 miles really slow, I call it a jog. It is mostly polite walking, and then I'll get a burst of energy if a good song comes on, and I'm like, yeah, this feels great, and then I get drop foot, and then I'm limping all the way back. It's a beautiful mess, just like my life. Bringing it back. But my dad had all of these Runner's World magazines, and my sister always had pictures all over our walls growing up of her heroes. And stumbling upon Shannon was a really beautiful thing for me. I'm going to try to find her actual full name, and I will put that in the description, because I'm doing you such a disservice, and you were such a critical person in my life, and I'm so sorry. Sorry, I needed to pause because I'm sitting out here because it's a beautiful day, but in Virginia, the pollinating is upon us. Everything is green. I can't breathe. I'm dying. So I do need to pause this occasionally to just hack up a lung and then come back politely. Cheers. But I know I did a video on this recently too, of like, what advice would I have given myself back then? And for this particular subject, if I could go back in time, I would want to hold myself. I would want to hug her and just tell her, it gets so much better. It gets so much better. And you're gonna be okay. The rooster just cooed. It agrees with me. It gets better. But that does not take away from the fact that it's really, really hard sometimes. And that it's going to do this. I do this in every video too. It goes up and then it comes back down. The pendulum swings in every facet. It is the law of this universe, of this world. That is just how it works. And I have finally, in the last year, fully accepted that, where it's not doom and gloom if things are rough right now. I'm not just like, everything sucks forever and I'm dying. I'm not that anymore. Thank God. Sorry to everyone that's been a part of that growth journey who get to reap the benefits now. But it's been, I'm just going to say 12 years. And I don't like slapping a label on any of my behaviors and being like, well, it was MS. I had mood swings. That's why I was being an asshole. Like, no, I've never wanted that. And I love my family to the end of time, but please stop making excuses for the choices that I make and the behavior that is sometimes questionable. I'm an adult. Even if I wasn't an adult, I am a autonomous human being. I am allowed to make mistakes without an excuse. I don't need a warning label slapped on me just like, she gets mood swings. No. I'm just a person, as all of us are. And like, we're snowflakes. I say this in every video too. Everything affects us differently. Everything affects us differently. Everyone processes differently. Everybody's on their own timeline here. There's no right or wrong. There is no, when am I expected to be whole again? When am I going to be able to crawl out of bed and look in the mirror at myself in the eye and say, I'm proud of you? Maybe never. But that's a part of it too. Life's a journey. It's all a part of it. And I've actually started making that a practice myself, is in the mornings sometimes, not every morning, but I do start every day by saying, today is going to be a great day. Even if it's storming outside, if I have a really rough work day ahead of me, I'm always going to find something to hold on to be like, that made it a great day. And being a woman who lives alone with my lovely Bernese mountain dog, who doesn't judge me, she totally judges me. After I brush my teeth, I do occasionally look myself in the eye and say, I'm proud of you. You've come so far. And it's been prolific almost just to say these things out loud and not obviously think about it and be like, I'm embarrassed I said that. Like, no, sometimes I record myself saying these things in voice memos on my phone so I can hear it later during a period where I'm struggling. And hearing myself say it, it's like, all right, I know myself better than anybody else. And I trust her. I trust her. But there's no roadmap, is what I'm getting at. There's not a timeline. You're expected to be like, I fully accept this shitty diagnosis fully today. There's no timeline. There's no expectation. There is no guidebook. I know some people have tried to write a guidebook, and I want to burn those in the fires of hell, just because who are you to tell me how this disease is going to affect me? I got strong opinions on that. And these are the books that my parents decided to buy at my diagnosis. Just like, let's learn as much as possible, which thank you so much for taking the time to actually do that. It means a lot when people come to me with questions and they're like, hey, I was looking into this. That actually might be a love language that I'm expressing here. For you to care enough to come back and be like, hey, I have questions about this because I know it affects you. That is such a broad way of saying I love you. Oh my God. And I know that most people I know with chronic illnesses can definitely confirm that. I hope this wind isn't like killing the sound quality here. It feels awesome though. I'm melting out here. Wind, I'm gonna need to ask you to calm down. Like, please. I'm in the middle of something. I completely lost my train of thought because it got so windy it almost blew over this entire stack table with everything on it, which would have been tragic. Okay, take a breath with me. Ground and recenter. Okay. It's okay in the midst of your diagnosis, to living with a chronic illness, to learning to accept your chronic illness, to maybe not even having a chronic illness and just having a bad day. It is acceptable to take the time that you need to process and alchemize. It's like my favorite word right now, just because every time I sit in these less than ideal emotional states where it's just like I'm really anxious or down on myself and it's coming from the external. I'm really intentional about trying to flip that into something I can use. So that's how my 5.5-mile runs happen, is that I'm trying to process big energy in a healthy way. That isn't me just numbing. I'm trying not to numb how I feel anymore. There's the wind. I have a little bamboo forest behind me too, so listening to it almost come completely crashing down. Very alarming over here. I digress. Nature, get on board. When I'm feeling really low, those are the moments that I feel inspired to do cardio, basically, because my sport of choice is weightlifting. I love it. I was in the gym 6 days this week and forced myself to take today to rest because my body hurts. Every part of me hurts. I'm like, oh my God, this wind touching my muscles, I'm dying. But those are the moments that I seek out cardio, usually running, because I feel so much on those runs, and I listen to my very fun playlist as I'm getting really into it, my Slipknot mix. I definitely have a reputation over here because it's a very public route that I run, and I do fall often and dance as I'm running. But I take that lower state of being and I try to alchemize it into something I can use. So when I'm done with those runs, I'm just so overwhelmingly grateful that I was able to run, as someone who's been told numerous times by numerous doctors that I would never be able to run again after being diagnosed with MS. And just being like, I did that. And then just having that endorphin rush after, and then just sitting there as my legs are like this. Puddles is looking at me like, oh, you good, Mom? And it's just such a sensation of both pride and reflecting on the event that led me to go on that run, and fully realizing that in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter that much, because everything always works out as it's supposed to. And actually, I start every morning too with the sentiment, everything always works out better than expected for me. Because I'm trying to just take that energy up a level. And honestly, since introducing that, the universe works in mysterious ways, and things really do work out almost for the better every single time, where it's just like, in the moment, I'm like, why is this happening to me? This is awful. I'm so sad. And then maybe I'm going to say 3 months after that moment, I'm always like, oh, it was saving me from this. This very apparently obvious thing that would have sucked so much more had I not gone through the pain of that. And I don't know if that's a unique perspective to me. I know a lot of my family does not operate this way, and they think that I'm a little bit naive in a lot of ways, just because I do see the positive side of things. I always try to. That's just who I am. And the reason that I'm like that is because of this diagnosis, where MS isn't a death sentence. Most chronic illnesses are not a death sentence. And going back to what I said in my last video, if a doctor ever tells you otherwise, fire that doctor. It's not a death sentence. And in fact, I would never be this version of me without first having been the version of myself that lived through that diagnosis period. So, love that version of yourself. Thank them for everything that they endured, everything that they learned to get you here. Because from my personal experience, the person I am today, I'm really proud of. I'm really proud to be this version of myself, and I could have never gotten here without alchemizing a lot of pain in the process. And just fully understanding maybe not all of the why things happened the way that they have or do, but fully accepting that they did. And just knowing that at the end of the day, it's all going to be fine. Everything works out better than expected for us. It is all going to be fine. So thank you for joining me for coffee on this beautiful Sunday morning. He hath risen. For all of you folks who are religious, cheers to your holiday. Thank you for joining me on this porch, and Puddles and I are so grateful to have you join us every single day that we do these recordings, and for your presence here. And I really do hope that this reaches the collective that is meant to see it, and that it helps. Because especially if you're newer to the diagnosis process, it's terrifying. It's a terrifying time to be alive. And I'm here as a random rainbow lady on this fine Sunday to just tell you it gets better. It really does. So I love you all so much. Hang in there. You're doing great. I'm so grateful for all of your presence every single day. The light in me sees the light in you. Happy Easter Sunday.
Puddles Camp, does whatever the Puddles can. She is happy and she's good. Happy Puddles is the best. Watch out! It is the Puddles Camp.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good girl.